Okay, so this is going to be episode 1 of Keish's Kitchen. Today we're going to be prepping a chili. It's going to be delightful. So we have our ingredients here. We're doing this real quick because if you can hear in the background, the Bruins Leafs are on right now. 0-0 after the first. Good game so far. So we got 2 things of whole tomatoes. I would suggest using diced, okay? But I like whole because I crunch them up with my hands, gets a little bit rustic. And then 1 of crushed. 1 thing of tomato paste. 3 different things of beans. You can kind of use whatever you like. We kind of like kidney beans. Usually if I was doing this myself, I'd be making them myself in the Instant Pot. So with beans, make sure you give them a shake, okay? Because what happens is they settle in the bottom, like there's a lot of like sediment in the bottom, and then you won't get all the beans out. So give it a little shake before you go. I'm gonna start with the beef. So we got our beef here. Some garlic. So this is all kind of like very off the cuff. I've made a lot of chilies, and I don't really need a recipe. I'm gonna be honest with you. It'll be fine. Thank you. Maybe more lights. Woo! Some more lights. What else? So we're gonna grab our big cast iron for this. You can just use whatever pan you want. So I'm just gonna start preheating it while we're kind of prepping some of the ingredients, okay? So it's on medium heat for now. Eventually we're gonna throw in not all of this ground beef. It's gonna be more than a pound, but you can just use a pound. It'll be fine. Nice sharp knife, onion. Chop the top off. Barely chop the root off. I just do this just so we don't get all the little the root particles in our food. Slice it in half, and then from there you can just take the top layer off. And I wouldn't cry too much if you're like wasting a bit. If you really want, you can kind of take your knife and just go like that, and then you'll take off a little bit less. But like, onions are cheap. It doesn't really matter. So we're cutting like this, okay? It's kind of tough to get a good view, but just running the knife and just moving my fingers along, just like that. I'm just kind of pressing the knife up against the nail, and this is just to be a little bit safe, right? Because you don't want to chop off a finger. So this way, once you get it down, you can be rather quick. And you technically should do it as well this way, but I just kind of hold the root, and it's fine. I haven't really chopped off my finger too much. There we go. So just doing a rough chop. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. So there we go. We got that. Usually I use mise en place bowls, but you've kind of complained about dishes, so we don't want that. We want to do as little dishes as possible. So there's our onion. We got 1 pepper. If you don't like green pepper, you can use red pepper. That's fine. So you can see we're just kind of taking it at the top and then going around like that, because you don't want to get the seeds, because then you're gonna have a mess. So right there, and then just around. And we don't want to waste any because it's delightful. So from there you can kind of carefully take out the white, because the white's a bit bitter for the pepper. And then we're just gonna, again, same thing with the fingers, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It really doesn't. Like freaking, we're not doing a Michelin star like meal here. I don't think they do a Michelin star chili anyway. So there we go. Just something nice and rough. Doesn't matter. Okay. Could I just get you to go to the other side here? I just was feeling a bit cramped, you know? So yeah, so that's good. And then bam. Bam, bam, nice and easy. You can see there's like some larger chunks in there. It's fine, it's fine. So we're just gonna check up on our pan real quick. Apparently we got no paprika. So our pan still got a while to go. So you don't need to throw in celery. I'm just throwing it in because we have it on hand, and I kind of like it in this dish. So I'm gonna throw it in. There we go. Well, rinse. I kind of rinse everything. Don't really need to rinse the onions. You're taking off that top layer anyway. It's fine. So running out of space, but that's okay. Again, we don't want to do a lot of dishes because we're, a student, and we don't want to do those dishes. We don't have time. We have to study, right? That's what we're doing. So I got a little thing of celery here, and then a big thing of celery. So I'm cutting it right down the middle. So they're about the same size. All right. So then same type deal here with the fingers and the whatever. You just kind of. It doesn't need to be perfect. So eventually, what we're going to be doing is we're going to brown the meat, drain some of the meat, assuming that there's some grease, and removing the beef, but leaving everything in the pan. There'll be like a little bit of what's called a fond develop, which is just kind of the caramelized meat. So we're washing that. The jalapeno and the garlic will go in last, so we can chop those up later. Let's get the crock pot. All right, so I start with. So for you, you're going to be using probably diced tomatoes. I like whole because I just get in there with my hands, and it's kind of fun. And then I can kind of control what the texture is like. I find the flavor from whole canned tomatoes, is a little bit better than diced, so that's kind of why I use them. But then also, again, it's a bit of a textural thing. You can kind of leave some larger chunks in there if you want. And then you can really break down near the root where it gets a bit tougher. So you got one can of whole tomatoes. Second can's going in eventually. 1, 2. We should be good. And we're just getting in there with our hands. We're just getting in there. Again, you don't really need to do this because you're gonna have diced. So we're just getting in there, breaking it all apart. It doesn't have to be perfect because, if you look at our dice really isn't perfect. It's kind of not uniform, but it's fine. It's fine. It's a chili. It doesn't have to be perfect. Cooking isn't perfect. Life isn't perfect. Maybe it is. I don't know. Some would argue mine is, right? My camera person here is trying to control her laughter because I'm so funny. Okay, so we're 8 minutes in. That's not bad. Okay. So this is probably good enough. I'm just gonna kind of sift through, see if there's any really large pieces that we don't want. So that's good enough. So our pan's still doing its thing, warming up. Wash your hands. Wash the hands, and then we're gonna do the crushed tomatoes. You can also use tomato sauce if you want. You don't really want any flavor in it because you're gonna put all the flavor with what I presume is some spice packet that I'm going to give you. I don't know. I'll give you the recipe and then probably a spice packet to try it as well. So we got it crushed. In we go. We don't really want to waste. Good. We can use that spatula, bowl scraper, or whatever to use that bowl scraper to stir as we go. So I'm just kind of throwing my hand over there. We got it over a medium heat, or a big ass cast iron pan. So then we're gonna get into the ground beef. So again, I said I'm probably gonna use whatever, that much is fine. This is probably a little bit over a pound, but you really only need a pound. So then we just, bam. Okay. Oh yeah, and that's a nice sizzle, right? That's kind of what you're looking for. Okay, you can throw some oil in the pan, but this will be fine. We're just gonna throw it in there, break it up with our hands, and just let it sit, and then wash our hands, right? So we thoroughly washed our beans there. I'm prepping this because eventually we're going to want our tomato paste, our canned tomato paste. Usually I wouldn't put in a whole can, but you know, you're a student, you don't want to waste it. We're putting in a whole can. And then eventually we're going to need our beans, so I may as well open them up now, right? I'm just not putting them in now because I'm going to have to strain my beef potentially if there's too much fat collecting. So I'm not going to drain them yet, but we will eventually. Some recipes have you throw in the juices from the beans, but we're going to be throwing in a different ingredient instead. So you can kind of come over to our beef here, expert camera lady. You can see that it's starting to gray. You notice I don't say brown because it's not browning yet, it's graying. We want it nice, we want it browned, okay? So we're gonna leave it. I'm not even touching it. Still opening our cans of beans here. I don't know if I'll need actually all of it. We're gonna throw. We'll wait. We'll hold off. We don't want to waste our beans. We don't want to waste it. I'm just looking at how much we have in our crock pot already, and it could be concerning. Okay, so and then spices. What do you want for spices? The spices are already out. Okay, so we got some cumin, some chili powder for chili, some cayenne just for a little bit of heat, some oregano because it kind of oregano's like a more like goes with like Mexican flavors, and then some paprika. So one thing that I do is this was in the pilot episode, but we'll actually do it here. So we have our teaspoon here. Okay, we have a teaspoon. Then you take your teaspoon, kind of level it off, and then you can throw that directly into your hand. So then you know what a teaspoon looks like, right? That's a teaspoon. It doesn't need to be perfect. You're not like, you know, I'll throw the rest in the beef. It'll be fine. It doesn't need to be perfect, but just like have a little visual of what a teaspoon looks like in your hand. It's kind of useful because when you're cooking, you don't need to be precise like you're baking. Okay. So oregano. We're gonna call that like a quarter teaspoon. Don't really want a lot. Oregano is quite flavorful. Cayenne. So this is like super spicy, right? So we don't want a lot. 1, 2, just like a little. Like it's not very much. If you can pan down into that, you can kind of see what we're looking at there. So it's really not a lot of cayenne. If you want to add more heat later on, it's easier to add heat later on than it is to take it away, quite frankly. So if you want to add more heat, throw in some hot sauce. Chili powder. So you're gonna want like, I don't know, quite a bit actually. So we're gonna want like, I don't know, I'd call that a tablespoon and a half, and then a little bit more. So maybe like 2 tablespoons, tablespoon and a half. You can be pretty loosey-goosey with it. Cumin. Cumin again is kind of like similar to oregano, where it's quite it packs a punch. So I don't know, I'll call it a teaspoon, maybe a little bit less. We like cumin. Usually we actually have whole cumin seeds here, and we grind it up in our mortar and pestle. But again, we want to be nice and quick and easy. So you have all that spices in. This is kind of like our secret ingredient. It's some Worcestershire sauce. It's delightful. I really like it. We burned through this bottle. We actually need more. But anyway, so Worcestershire sauce. So we're throwing in I don't know, a couple teaspoons. One other thing, like if I were making this for myself, I would actually use sardines. Oddly enough, like a single anchovy fillet. A single anchovy fillet, because it's just like, I don't know, it brings this funkiness. It's quite nice. What else do we need? I guess some pepper, right? Like, you know, like we got a pepper mill. Like if you're just using like pre-ground pepper, I don't know, like half a teaspoon, whatever. We're just doing a bunch of grounds in there. What else do we need? Probably need something to balance the acidity. So we need something to balance the acidity. So I'm going with some brown sugar. You don't need a whole lot. This is again something that you can add a bit later on. Much like if you don't have enough heat, you can add a little bit more if you find it's like giving you some heartburn or something. I don't know. Let's call that like a teaspoon, like packed. I might need to add more. We'll find out in the morning. Or well, more. What else? I think that's pretty solid. So we're gonna look at the beef now. Like I literally have not touched the beef this entire time. It's just been chilling. It's just been chilling, doing its thing. So I'm just kind of preparing this just in case I need to drain. So we're kind of looking at the underside. And you can see right there, right? Like there's a little bit of browning. See, like I would call this graying. That's browning. We want some browning because browning is good. Browning is flavor. Browning is the Maillard reaction, which is something everybody wants. You just want that if you're cooking meat usually. So we're just letting it do its thing, right? Like you don't really need to poke around the beef a bunch, but we're trying to break up the meat a bit, right? It's okay to have like some large chunks, but you kind of want it to meld together, right? How are we doing for time?
17 minutes.
17 minutes. That's not bad. That's not bad. We pretty much got the whole base of our sauce mixture done, and then we just got to cook the meat, cook the aromatics, and then throw it all in the crock pot and press start. Really. So now we're gonna rock the jalapeno. So this is hot, right? So you have to be careful. So I lop off the top, and then we're gonna cut it just like so. We got our spoon here, okay? And then we're just gonna go just like that, nice and easy. Again, you just want to get that white stuff out because it's bitter and the seeds are hot. We don't want any heat from this jalapeno. We just want the flavor that it brings. So then again, we're just gonna julienne. The hockey game sounds to be starting, so you know if we have to take a pause and the Bruins score a bunch, so be it. That's just us cooking. So yeah, so we're julienne. This is a nice, relatively thin strip, and then just mincing. Seems as if I have some longer strips that have fallen behind the knife, and that's okay, because this is just a rough. We'll call it rustic. You know, in the cooking business, we'll call it a rustic chili. But in reality, that's just chef's word for being lazy. So we got our aromatics. Our beef is doing its thing. It's simmering away. Not really too much. Like I got garlic, but like that's like super easy for me to chop up. So like we're just chilling. We actually need to add one more thing. We'll add a little bit of beer. So we're going with a Guinness stout. It does not have to be a stout. It can be an IPA. It can be a lager. I would just stay away from stuff that's super hoppy, okay? So we're throwing in about a cup. Yeah, it's beer. So about a cup, we'll say, okay? And then I'm just waiting for my beef to do its thing, right? Like I wish it was quicker, but like sometimes it just takes a bit of time, and like this chili is way better than if you just threw everything in the crock pot and just let it do its thing. Like browning the meat is like it's an essential part of getting actual flavor into your dish. And like this is actually the recipe that got me into cooking. Is a chili in the crock pot. When I was in college, I came back first Christmas, and my dad he asked me to make him a chili for his work. Made him a chili, and it was disgusting. Like I probably wouldn't even eat it. I know Danielle wouldn't eat it if I were to make it today. But I learned a lot about cooking at that time. So E14, we're getting there. Okay, so this is just doing its thing. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. You might hear it start popping. The beef. If you hear it start popping, that's too hot. Turn it down. Dial it back. I just kind of want to you know, get it going. I got a hockey game to watch. So yeah. Did I add the paprika? I don't think I did. Oh my goodness. Okay, so some paprika needs to go in there too. Not much. Again, hand to pan type deal. We'll call it a teaspoon. It doesn't need to be a lot. Ideally, it's a smoked paprika. We don't have that, and that's okay. The smoke just gives it a nice little smoky flavor. So again, like this is the second time that I've stirred this beef, right? Like you don't need to move it too much, and in fact, if you do, you'll have a hard time browning it. Like it'll just take longer to brown. So at this point, we really want to break it apart as good as we can. So I might not even need to drain this or strain that too much. Like that's not a whole lot of oil. I'm looking at it like that's not bad. That's actually not bad. So we'll see. We'll see. We're gonna let it go a little bit more. We want a little bit more of that browning there. Okay. And for now, we're just waiting. We're just waiting. This is the fun part of cooking. This is kind of the boring part, but I mean, like if this was me, I would have had all these things in like our mise en place bowls. We have like these little guys, right? I would have had them in our mise en place bowls, and I probably would just be cooking up, right? Like because it's good to be efficient when you're cooking, because sometimes if you're doing like more elaborate dishes than this, stuff can pile up. This stuff can pile up. But it's a perfect time to take a drink break. I'm just waiting. I'm bored. I guess I can deal with my ground beef, so I'm going to do that. Hopefully you're entertained. Well, I'm sure that you're going to get a better quality video out of this than you did the pilot video. The pilot video was quite difficult to do solo. Usually that recipe is like 40 minutes, but it was like 50 this time, which was interesting for me. That's okay. You know what? It was kind of fun to do. So I might give you the pilot anyway, just because like. It's actually like a recipe that I really like. It's like one of my first recipes that I made a bunch. That was not a crock pot recipe, because when I was in college, it was literally just a crock pot, and then like we do like some fish. Yeah. All right. So if we can look at our beef here. You can hear it start to pop a little bit. So like I said, you might hear it start to pop a bit, and that just means that it's a little bit too high, and that's okay. It's a little bit too high, but we're gonna, look at that. See, look at that browning. So that's kind of what you want. You don't need it all to be brown like that, but a little bit really gives some good flavor, okay? So you can see that like, I don't know, we got what, maybe like 10% of it's like really deeply browned. Really deeply browned and caramelized, and at the bottom of the pan there, some stuff is sticking. That's your fond. All right. So we're gonna take this out. We don't really need to do it anymore. Excuse me. Thank you. So I didn't even really need to drain it, but I'm gonna do it anyway, just because like it's what I do usually. So why not? I'm just gonna do that. Alright, so we got that. There's a little bit of oil in there. So we're going in with the celery first. I don't think that you would use celery. Again, I just had it, so I use it. That's cooking. So yeah, I go in with the celery first. For you, you probably would be going with your onion mixture. So celery or onion, a little bit of salt, a little pinch of salt, okay? So what the salt does is we're going to turn down the heat as well. So we had previously had it at medium. It's at a 2. So we want to sweat it out. So right now it's way too aggressive for what I'm going for. But I turned down the heat. It'll start sweating a bit. The reason why I started with the celery is that it's a bit harder than onion. So I'm going to start with throwing the celery. It'll sweat down a bit. It'll soften over time. And then the onion's going to go in, in maybe a couple minutes, okay? I wonder if the brown's away. It's still 0-0. How's the camera lady doing?
Great.
She's doing great. Excellent. Alright, so that's probably enough just to get the celery started. Like, I don't have a lot of celery, so like if a little bit of it's hard, or a little bit harder than we'd like, that's fine. So then we're going in with all the onion, okay? And then eventually the green pepper will go in last. But it doesn't need too long. You probably don't even need to sweat out the green pepper. I just do because it's already all in the pan, right? So why not? So onion, a little bit more, a pinch, like it's probably like 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. You really don't need much, but you just want a little bit because it'll draw out that moisture. It'll sweat it out. Time?
27.
27, so we're at a half hour. We're pretty close, actually, like, honestly. That's good. Okay, so our beef is kind of like, see, like, we haven't really got rid of that much oil, but our beef's good. It can go in. Beautiful, beautiful. And then I'm going to bring this guy to the sink. Bring that to the sink, and then we've got our 2 cans of beans. I think that's all that we're going to be able to fit. I might be able to fit a 3rd. We'll see. I don't want it to overflow too much. Give them a quick rinse. You don't have to rinse it. There's recipes that just throw the whole can in too. So like, whatever. I throw in the beer instead. I think I might actually be able to throw in another one. We'll see. Alright, so we got our beef in there, our aromatics are going, our beans now can go in actually. So our onions and celery are doing their thing, they're just sweating out. You might be able to hear that I dropped a whole bunch of celery. You might be able to hear that it's not sizzling as loud. That's because I turned down the heat and now it's sweating. And then all this fond at the bottom, you're just gonna scrape it up. If you're using a non-stick pan, you may not be able to develop the fond. Like it just might not be possible. Probably not possible because fond kind of likes the sticking properties of cast iron or carbon steel or stainless or whatever. Yeah, so I actually can't throw in another can of beans, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. I'm glad that I didn't open that other can. That's actually looking quite nice already. I'm just tasting it. Just for like the balance of the salt and the sugar, because like you'll kind of have an idea when we like right now that's like actually rather spicy, but it'll be fine once we once we add the veg, the aromatics, that'll be good. So as you can see, I'm actually going to turn up the heat a bit because we don't want to take too long. So yeah, so our onions are starting to change color a bit. They're starting to get clear, a little bit more clear, a little bit translucent. Is that the word I'm looking for? So then I'm gonna throw in our green peppers. Oh yeah, that actually had a good bite to it. I don't know what made it so spicy. I didn't throw in that much cayenne, but it'll be fine. Once you get a bite with the beans and the veg, it'll be good. Okay, so that a little bit more salt with the again, it's really not much. It's really not much. Like I'm just barely pinching any. I turned up the heat a bit because it's we just want to get the ball rolling, right? Got a hockey game to watch, a dog to walk, these things. Okay, so that's that. Now I can chop my garlic. So garlic, got our cloves here. Just breaking them apart. So blade is kind of downwards, and then a little hammer fist, okay? Blade downwards, hammer fist, just to take the skin off a bit. There we go. And then chop off the root, chop off the root, chop off the root, that's fine. Chop off the root. Alright, so then we're just gonna quickly mince it. So this is just it's a rough mince. There's lots of different ways you can cut garlic, and garlic enthusiasts would tell us that this is just I don't know why my camera lady is laughing, but garlic enthusiast would be appalled because what I'm about to do is just putting a bunch of garlic juice on the cutting board instead of in there, but I just throw in another clove of garlic. I'm going to be honest with you, this is way easier than how they would chop it. The garlic enthusiasts, of course. So there you go. You can see we got a mince. It's nothing fancy. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be perfectly small. So again, this guy, our onions are really starting to turn translucent here. And I think the leaf's just scored. That's lovely. It's truly tragic stuff in this household, let me tell you. But what can you do? Yes, thank you. We're getting there. I still gotta do the garlic. Garlic goes in first, then the tomato paste. So you can actually just, so what I'm gonna do is show you how to cook off the tomato paste. You can just throw this thing completely in if you don't want to, but you're gonna see that it's already in the pan. Everything's already in the pan, so why would I not, right? Because it does help the flavor. Because straight out of this tin, it's it's got a little bit of a tinny taste, and if you're gonna cook it off, it kind of helps remove that a bit, which is nice. So our onions are getting there. I'm gonna try and pick out a piece of celery. Yeah, that's good. So it's got the slightest bite to it. A little bit salty. So we don't need to add any more salt here. So then our garlic, I probably should have made a well there, but it's fine. We're gonna simmer it for or sweat it out for another minute or two. We are getting there, trust me. My camera lady's getting tired. I know. But she's being entertained as well, slightly. She doesn't always get all the banter that I get with cooking. She's smiling, trust me. It's not only because I'm tickling her. So yeah, so the garlic goes in as well. Let that do its thing for a bit. Not too long, because we don't want the camera lady to be upset with me. So our garlic cooking off. We just want to take the raw edge off the garlic, so it doesn't have to be It doesn't have to be perfectly like cooked through. Like I wouldn't want to eat actually any of these veggies right now because they're not really cooked through. They still got a bit of bite to them, just a little bit. You can take them a little bit further if you like, but I don't, because it's still gonna cook for quite a bit in the crock pot. So then the jalapeno goes in. This I don't even really like. I'm probably not even really gonna cook it off. Although it's just gonna melt. It's just gonna melt in the chili anyway, so it doesn't matter what I do for the jalapeno. So that, and then this time I remember to make it well. So this is I think it's an important step, but you don't have to do it if you don't want to. That's okay. There's a lot of optional steps here because it doesn't really, like, it does matter. Like at the end of the day, the thing with cooking is like it's a collection of techniques, and like the more the techniques you can apply, generally speaking, the better your dish is going to be. There are some dishes that are like you just want to be very simple, but for the most part, you kind of want to go in and do a little bit extra, and it will be worth it in the long run. So what I'm doing now is I'm cooking off the tomato paste. So right now, when it went in, it was kind of like a dark red. Eventually, that sounds like the Leafs goal horn. So that's 2 goals that have been scored. Sometimes it's tough, but you know what? What's gonna happen is this is just gonna make, you know, the comeback the Bruins have in the third period all the more sweeter. Yeah, so we're mixing the tomato paste about, and it is getting a bit lighter. I don't know if this will pick it up, the camera will pick it up or not, but it is a little bit lighter, I promise you. So we're just doing this for like a minute. You can just leave it sometimes. And we're almost there. We're almost there for the camera lady and for the dog, for the Julian. Alright, so this is actually, it's lightened up quite a bit. Okay, so we're done with this. We can just grab our bowl scraper. Bowl scraper. Bam, bam, bam. Turn off our stove. Everything can just go in. Ooh, Leafs. Okay. So now we have everything is in there, and it is just barely fit. So I could not have fit another can of beans in there. And I mean, I probably would have liked it. I like a 1-to-1 meat to bean ratio, sometimes a little bit more beans, but that's okay. So we're just stirring it up. So what we're gonna be doing, or what you would be doing, is you would cook it on high for 4 hours, or low for like 6 hours, maybe 8. Yeah, I would definitely suggest checking up on it about halfway through. Just giving it a stir if you're able. We're not going to, because I'm gonna throw mine in the fridge and then start it tomorrow morning. So you would throw your lid on, press start, and then just let it do its thing for a while and then come back. So I'm gonna throw mine in the fridge, and then we'll come back tomorrow after work and we'll see how it is.